Alright people, so welcome to Jumbo IAS and welcome to UPSC Prelims Phoenix batch. In this batch, we revise the entire syllabus for UPSC Prelims examination, the entire syllabus, static as well as current affairs. Now today's lecture is related to the static portion and you are well versed with our timetable. Okay, the timetable was shared with you in the beginning of this course. Now as per the timetable, we are currently going through ancient and medieval history. Okay, and today is day 11 for ancient and medieval history, and today our targets would be Mughals part 2. So basically we'll be covering later Mughals. Okay, the Mughals after Aurangzeb as well. It includes Aurangzeb's reign, after Aurangzeb, and also the rebellions, the Maratha rebellions and other rebellions during the Mughal rule. Okay, so this is part of our syllabus for today's lecture. Now notes have been provided to you well in advance. I'm sure that you have already revised those notes before sitting for this lecture. Okay, so that revision of your notes was revision number 1. And now through this lecture would be revision number 2. So you will be covering or you will be revising that topic 2 times. Okay. All right then. Without further delay, let's straight away dive into the lecture. Let's begin. So AMC day 11 and today the targets were Mughals part 2, the later Mughals. Now remember, it also includes art and culture portion during the Mughal period. Okay. All right then. Let's begin with question number 1. Which medieval ruler introduced the system of patta and kubuliyat to help peasants? Now, the system of patta and kubuliyat, patta in modern times is your land registry. Okay, so all the peasants, well, the state would give them a patta. That would be a registry of their revenue. In that patta, what would be written? That this land belongs to you and you have to pay this much revenue to the state. This was a proof, documentation. Okay. Kabuliyat was that agreement between the peasant and the state. For example, 30% of your income or your produce would go towards the state. This was the agreement, Kabuliyat. This was to basically reform agriculture, land revenue system. Now, this system was introduced by Sher Shah during the interregnum period between Humayun and Akbar. Sher Shah Suri ruled India, right? So, it was Sher Shah. And the system was continued by Akbar because it was a genius system. Many of the agricultural reforms, military reforms, currency reforms introduced by Sher Shah Suri were continued by the Mughals, Akbar. Okay. So the answer to this question would be C. Okay. Question 2. Match list 1 and list 2 and select the correct answer using the codes given below. So list 1 contains the monuments and list 2 contains the name of the kings who commissioned them. Okay. So, Alai Darwaza in Delhi, Alauddin Khalji, Buland Darwaza, Moti Masjid Agra, Moti Masjid Delhi. So, Alai Darwaza of Delhi was constructed during the Delhi Sultanate period and it was constructed by Alauddin Khalji. Buland Darwaza, we all know, was constructed by Akbar in Fatehpur Sikri. Okay, it was constructed by Akbar in Fatehpur Sikri to commemorate his victory in Gujarat. So, this is there. Moti Masjid Agra in Agra was constructed by Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb also constructed a masjid in Delhi, Moti Masjid Delhi. So the answer would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, C. All are correctly matched. Next. Assertion reason. So assertion. Aurangzeb succeeded Shah Jahan to the Mughal throne. Okay. The law of primogeniture was followed. This was the reason. Now, what is the correct answer? For that, you need to know what is primogeniture. Primogeniture is a system of inheritance in which the eldest son inherits the throne. Now, the Mughals never followed primogeniture system. Okay? Because Aurangzeb was the third son, kind of, as far as age is concerned. And the kingdom was not given to him. The empire was not given to him. There was a civil war-like situation. Dara Shikho and Aurangzeb fought a war. And the one who was victorious became the emperor. And that was Aurangzeb. So there was no primogeniture system. We can say the system was co-parcenary. Mughals followed co-parcenary system in which, well, the kingdom empire would be divided. But the brothers used to fight a war and one would become victorious. Nonetheless, reasoning is incorrect. So A is true, R is false. The answer would come out to be C. Okay, next. With reference to Mansabdari system, which of the statements are correct? Mansabdari system was the official nobility of the state started by Akbar. A Mansabdari was hereditary. So both these statements we have covered in previous lecture. Yes, indeed, Mansabdari system was started by Akbar and it was a nobility system. Okay, and every Mansabdar had a Zaat and Sawar based on their rank. Okay, so this is correct. But Mansabdari system was not hereditary. Okay, the Jagirs given to these Mansabdars for as a part of their salary were frequently transferred, and well, Mansabdari was not hereditary. The emperor would take a call, final call. So this is false. The answer would be one only. Okay, next. Consider the following battles and arrange these in chronological order. So, Battle of Kannauj, Chanderi, Talikota, Chausa. Now, we have discussed all these battles in previous lectures. I'll tell you how. So, Battle of Chanderi was fought between Babur and Rajput rulers in 1528. Then, Battle of Chausa between Humayun and Sher Shah in 1538, I guess, or 39. Okay. Then, after that, Humayun fled, and he was finally defeated in Battle of Kannauj. Battle of Talikota was in 1565, and we have discussed this. It was between, Deccan Sultanates and Vijayanagar Empire. Remember? Which was basically the destruction of Vijayanagar Empire. So, Battle of Chanderi, then Battle of Chausa, then Battle of Kannauj, and then Battle of Talikota. So, 2413. 2413. D. Okay, next. Given below are two statements, again assertion reason. So the assertion is Akbar, like Sher Shah, tried to regulate the currency of the state. Reason, as in Sher Shah's currency, the chief copper coin of Akbar's time was dam. Okay, now remember, well, currency, the most used currency during Mughal rule was copper, and it was called dam. Okay, then the second most used was silver coins. That was called rupaiya, which is, I guess, we get the name of our currency rupees from this only. And then gold was called ashrafi, very rarely used. Very rich people used to have ashrafi. Now, this system of rupaiya and dam was introduced during Sher Shah's time, and Mughals continued with it. So, Akbar, like Sher Shah, tried to regulate the currency of the state. Yes, exactly. And what is the evidence of that? Well, the chief copper coin of Akbar's time was also dam, and that of Sher Shah was also dam. Okay, so both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Okay, next. With reference to Mughal India, what is our differences between Jagirdar and Zamindar? Okay, both were posts during Mughal rule. Jagirdars were holder of land assignments in lieu of judicial and police duties, whereas Zamindars were holders of revenue right without obligation to perform any duty other than revenue collection. Land assignments to Jagirdars were hereditary, revenue rights of Zamindars were not hereditary. Now listen to me very carefully. Well, Zamindars were given a particular piece of land, and it was their responsibility to collect revenue from there, handle police functions, judicial functions also. And Zamindars, well, were local powerful families who were made Zamindars. Okay, so this system was hereditary also. They were kind of like chief ministers or rajas of that locality. You understand? Whereas Jagirs were salaries. Their job, Jagirs were given to Mansabdars also. So they were Jagirdars of that particular Jagir, and their job was to collect revenue for their salary. That's it. They had no judicial functions, no police functions, nothing of that sort. And you remember we talked about this. Mansabdars, Jagirs were not hereditary. Okay, so it's the opposite. Jagirdars performed judicial and police duties. No, Zamindars did. Jagirdars were hereditary. No, Zamindars were. Jagirdars were not. Both are incorrect. Okay, next.